In today's episode, we're going to be speaking to the folks at measurable.energy. We're going to be learning about what it's all about, how they basically helping to eliminate wasted energy in buildings. It's a really important topic, of course. I mean, with the Pathmark Climate Initiative, Pathmark is very active in the space, but that's why we really want to have, companies on the show that help to prevent CO2 emissions. And the goal is here to do that by at least reducing electricity bills by at least 20%, right? So we got Diana on the show. Diana, tell us more about measurable energy. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. So you know how if you've ever walked through a city at night, you will have noticed that a lot of commercial buildings and all the massive office blocks have got everything left on. So it's up to half of buildings' energy consumption is basically wasted because everything gets left on overnight, over weekends, over lunch breaks. And that's what we tackle. We tackle that wasted energy. So like you said, eliminating wasted energy in buildings. And at this particular moment, we are focusing on small power. So small power is specifically it's also known as plug load power or miscellaneous power. So this is basically all your devices that get plugged in into the wall. So your printers, your laptops, screens. If we're thinking of office kitchen area, all the hot and cold water taps, microwaves. So all of that. And we have found that the small power makes up to 40% of buildings' energy use. So when you combine the half is wasted and small power is 40%, that's where we get the energy saving of 20% for businesses.
Gotcha. Makes a whole lot of sense. Now, what types, I mean, of course, there's a lot of types of businesses that could benefit from this, but maybe what types of organizations do you work with the most?
So we've kind of have three main areas that have crystallized at the moment. So it's your big construction companies. So if you imagine new development sites where homes are being built, the development company will have portable cabins there. So it's for comfort of the people and the builders who actually work on the site, so they can kind of have a cup of tea and, sort of have a little rest. So often those things are run fully on small power. So everything in there is on electricity. And we have found that we can save as much as 60% there. So that's a big area for us. And we're growing there quite rapidly. The second one is, like I mentioned, the offices. Offices is a really big one. So that will be sort of like the facilities managers, building owners, who basically have these offices. And basically have a lot of devices in there and want them switched off automatically overnight or at certain times. And then the last big one is sort of event venues. So if you imagine football stadiums, they might have a game every 10 days. And in between, all these sort of vending machines and bottle fridges are left on. And that can save quite a lot of energy if we do switch that off.
Makes a whole lot of sense. Now, who would typically be the individual that is reaching out to you? Is that like an operations manager? Does it come from is there like teams actually that specifically care about these lightnings on those large scale? Like maybe who is the person that would, typically be the champion for you guys?
Yeah, so it's kind of three areas. So first one will be sustainability professionals. So you have companies that sort of have specifically put teams in place to look after their sustainability and to make sure that they are saving as much carbon as possible. So those people will kind of look across the whole business and do various things. So that's kind of one area and one profession, I guess, that we would be talking to. The second one is energy management. So people who specifically look at the energy in their, I guess, processes and buildings and across the business. The next one is facilities managers. So this is specifically in the offices and things like that, because when a company will own a large number of buildings, they need to be managed. So you'll have special people who kind of look after all the utilities and different facilities in the buildings. And the lastly will be just business owners and kind of C-suites, people who just want to make a difference and make sure that, especially in sort of smaller companies, will be that.
Very good. Now, it's interesting. So now what I'm curious about is like, how do these folks actually learn about you guys? Like, what's the channels and what role does the website play? Like, because I mean, it's a super important topic, but I'm not sure, maybe it is. I'm not sure if it is a topic that people start Googling for and then they hit to your website, or like, maybe tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so that's quite interesting. You mentioned kind of Googling about it. And that's why I think it's quite an interesting topic about SEO and how actually important it is nowadays. Because we don't actually find people, maybe it's because we're still quite an early startup and it will change with time, but I find that our organic search is straight away our brand name. That's where it's kind of really strong. And obviously what does that tell me is that it's word of mouth and social media that really kind of gets people talking about us and thinking about us. And that's what the attribution is showing us as well. So we do kind of self-reported attribution where we actually ask people what made them sort of reach out and where did they hear about us. And the biggest ones are LinkedIn, word of mouth. So basically they've heard about us from someone else, and they've seen us at some sort of event. Like we did quite a lot of events last year, and I think that kind of got our name out quite a lot. So yeah, so people kind of hear about those things through those areas about us, but then they Google our name and then they come to our website, they obviously check it all out, and then they reach out through a form from the website. So that's kind of an average journey. Obviously not everyone will be the same.
I mean, that's actually quite interesting that you bring that up. Is there something that you've learned when it comes to converting people on the page, that they look around and actually get in touch? Anything that you've learned, any tools, methods, approaches that are helpful for that?
I think not yet, to be honest, because we are quite, I mean, we launched into the market last year. We are quite early, though we're moving really fast. So we just rebuilt our website 3 months ago. So we kind of saw that increased things just because it was a little bit more user-friendly, I think. There were more CTAs all over the place. I think, so I guess that's one thing that is helpful, is kind of just making obvious for people what's the action they can take. So that's sort of like a little thing that we've learned so far, but I imagine there's going to be a lot more that we can do and learn with time, as the time sort of goes on. I know that one weakness we have at the moment is not having pricing on the website. So that's kind of like the opposite, I guess, of what we're seeing and learning, like not the positive that I could suggest, but something that I've noticed that would be good is sort of having that pricing on there so that people can do their own research and sort of compare things, I guess, because I've noticed that as the time has moved on, people prefer doing that research a lot more before talking to sales than maybe compared to like 5-10 years ago.
Very good. Now, I'd like to switch gears a little bit and talk with you a little bit about your journey as a marketer, right? Because there's so much content out there that you could, listen to, like a podcast like this. You could read, you could, watch, videos on YouTube on it. Like, where do you personally find high quality information with all the noise out there?
As well, I'm addicted to LinkedIn. It's my partner actually pulls me up on it. It's like, it's the weekend. Why are you on LinkedIn? It's like, because I find actually really good quality content on there. And I think, yeah, there is loads there, but you sort of notice what the quality is over time, and then you can pick who you follow, who you can like not follow on LinkedIn, sort of thing. So I've kind of picked the people that I think are giving out valuable content, high quality content, and I just follow those people and learn that way.
Very cool. Now, I got some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for the day. Are you ready for those?
Yes, let's go.
Very good. So what is the last book that you read?
The Female Factor by Dr. Hazel Vallis.
What is the one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
So I guess externally is the small power waste, like I mentioned, but internally is growing, just getting more customers and growing fast.
Very good. That's always a good goal. If there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be the one single thing that you would change for your role as a marketer today, right? You have a magic wand, you can change whatever you need as a marketer, but just one thing, what would it be?
Oh, I don't know if this is marketer specific, but I would like better filterings on junk email because you just get so much stuff, so many cold emails, and it's like you're approaching a marketer. Do you think this is gonna work? I don't know.
That makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. Now, let's go to the next question, right? What I would be curious about, if today would be your first day joining Measurable Energy, what's the one advice you would give yourself for that journey?
Oh, yeah, that doesn't feel like a rapid question. I'm taking my time.
We can talk a bit more generically about your, role as a marketer.
Yeah, cool. So
education into the, into the world of marketing for all, because in the end, it's just as for the purpose of this is, for all the marketers who are out there listening, what's the one advice you would give yourself for your career as a marketer?
Yeah. So as an advice from myself, kind of as starting career, I would have said sort of join a startup as soon as possible. Because I just think it's I've been in a startup before this one, and you just learn so much so quickly, and you can really test and learn a lot of things. So you can kind of decide what sort of marketer you are really quickly, and kind of how your strategy and have your view. So yeah, I think that, but specifically when I joined Measurable Energy, I think sort of believing in myself a bit more, because I joined this company and it's incredible bunch of people, very intelligent, very smart. And I think it was a little bit intimidating at the beginning. So you kind of doubt yourself a little bit. But yeah, I sort of would have gone back and said, you've got this, you're as good.
Very good. Very encouraging for everybody who's listening or joining a new role right now. Then I really appreciate you joining us today. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about Measurable Energy, what's the one single thing people should remember?
You should remember that we can save you 20% on your energy bills, and even more importantly, on carbon emissions.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Pathmark Presents.
Thanks for having me.